I stared at my own face across the crowded airport lounge, smirking as it sipped a overpriced latte, oblivious to the storm I'd unleashed. My sister, now me, had called me a parasite earlier that day, whispering to our parents how I'd torpedoed their Hawaiian getaway with my drama, but she didn't know I'd slipped into her skin like a ghost in the machine. Tonight, as the boarding call echoed for Flight 247 to Honolulu, I'd hijack more than just a seat. I'd reclaim the life she buried me in, one vengeful mile at a time. The body swap happened 6 months ago, on a rainy night in our family's sprawling estate outside Seattle. Think old money vibes, the kind where the Pacific Northwest fog clings to everything like a bad conscience. I'd always been the black sheep, Alexandra the troubled one, while Elena, my golden girl sister, glided through life on Daddy's venture capital wings. She was the heir apparent to Blackwood Tech, our family's AI empire, the one engineering neural interfaces that promised to revolutionize empathy, or some bullshit. I was the artist, the dropout, the one who partied too hard in college and came home with tattoos and regrets. But that night, after Elena's latest boardroom triumph, she cornered me in the wine cellar, her eyes glassy from whatever cocktail of ambition and Adderall she was on. "You think you're invisible, Alex?" she'd hissed, shoving a vial into my hand. A prototype from the lab, unlabeled, shimmering like liquid mercury. "Swallow this, and maybe you'll feel what it's like to matter." It was her twisted game, a sisterly bonding, ritual gone wrong, laced with experimental nanites meant to sync our neural patterns for some empathy training demo. But the batch was faulty, a hidden glitch Elena had buried in the code to sabotage a rival project. One sip, and the world inverted. I woke up in her body, staring at my own slack face on the cellar floor. Panic surged, hers, mine, ours, blurring into a feedback loop of stolen sensations. At first, I thought it was temporary, a glitch we'd laugh off over mimosas. But Elena, in my body, played it cool. Too cool. She rallied the family, spinning the tale that I'd freaked out during our chat, OD'd on party drugs I'd smuggled in, and needed rest. Our parents, Richard and Vivian Blackwood, bought it hook, line, and sinker. After all, I'd been the family screw-up since Mom's debutante days. They whisked me, Elena, to a private clinic in Bellevue, while the real me, trapped in her polished shell, watched from the sidelines, doped on sedatives to stabilize the sink. That's when I learned the depth of the betrayal. Elena had engineered the swap on purpose. Not just the faulty vial, but the cover-up. She'd framed me for embezzling from Blackwood Tech, siphoning funds to fuel my addiction. The evidence? Forged transfers from my old bank account, timestamps aligning with my last bender in Portland. I'd taken the fall for her real crime. Insider trading on a merger deal that could have tanked the company if exposed. The secret festered like damp rot in the evergreens. Elena, puppeteering my body, thrived. She nailed presentations in boardrooms, charmed investors at Napa retreats, even dated that smug tech bro from Silicon Valley who ghosted me after one awkward hike. Meanwhile, I was Alexandra and Elena, confined to the estate under recovery protocols, my every move monitored by the family AI, Elena's baby, now her watchdog. Our parents cooed over poor Alex, shipping her, me in disguise, organic kale smoothies and therapy sessions, blind to the imposters slurping them down. The tension built like a Pacific squall. I'd catch glimpses of my real face in mirrors, hollow-eyed and twitchy, practicing Elena's crisp laugh, her power poses. She'd whisper taunts when alone. "Feel that boardroom glow, sis? That's mine now." Her voice echoing in my skull via the neural link that never fully severed. But revenge isn't born in whispers. It's forged in the gut punch of realization. 3 months in, during a family Zoom from their emergency Aspen ski trip, the one I supposedly ruined by needing space from the drama, I hacked the estate's network using Elena's own backdoor codes I'd memorized from late-night coding sessions we'd shared as kids. What I found chilled me colder than the Rockies. Elena's private server, logs of the swap experiment, emails to a shady contractor about permanent reassignment protocols. She'd planned to keep me locked in her body forever, dosing me quarterly with stabilizers while she dismantled my life brick by brick. The embezzlement? A smokescreen for her siphoning millions into offshore accounts, prepping to bail on the family legacy and start her own rogue AI firm. And the kicker? Our mother's mysterious cancer remission 2 years back? Elena's doing tainted meds in my name to make me the scapegoat if it backfired. I'd borne that guilt silently, thinking my stress had cursed the family, when it was Elena's ladder to power climbed on my back. That Aspen call was the spark. Dad, ruddy-cheeked from mulled wine, sighed into the camera. Alex, honey, we're worried. This vacation was supposed to recharge us, but your texts, they're so erratic. Elena, in my face, nodded solemnly, eyes gleaming with fake concern. She's spiraling, Dad. Remember Hawaii? She bailed last minute, ruined the whole vibe. Hawaii, the trip I'd begged to join, only for Elena to forget my invite, stranding me with a hangover and a voicemail. Stay home, loser. Family's better without the baggage. Our sister Lila, the peacemaker, chimed in from the lodge fireplace. We love you, Alex, but you gotta own this. Own it. I'd been owning their sins since birth. I ended the call with a scripted sob. Elena 2.0, all quivering lip and averted gaze. Then bolted to the garage, Elena's sleek Tesla humming to life under my stolen key fob. The neural link buzzed a warning, but I jammed it with a pulse from her phone's debug app. Destination, SeaTac Airport, a red eye to Honolulu, where the family jet idled for their return. I'd board commercially, blend into the lays and alohas, slip into their paradise like a virus in the code. The flight was my Trojan horse. Once there, I'd expose Elena's empire of lies, but not before twisting the knife. Controversial? Hell yes. I'd seduce her fiancé in her body, leak her trades to the SEC from her laptop, maybe even dose her with the stabilizer to trap her in limbo. Dark? The Pacific at dawn would look black compared to the void in my chest. Tense. Every mile marker on I-5 screamed pursuit, the family AI pinging alerts I prayed she'd dismiss as glitches. Boarding was a blur of fluorescent hell and security theater. I flashed Elena's passport, her perfect smile mocking me from the photo, and the agent waved me through with a nod, mistaking poise for privilege. Seat 14A, window over the wing, the kind where you can watch your old life recede like a bad dream. As the engines whined to life, I texted from her burner. Family meeting in Honolulu. Critical. No reply. Good. Let the hook sink deep. Turbulence hit over the Cascades, jolting like the swap's aftershocks, and I gripped the armrest, nails, manicured to Elena's specs, digging into vinyl. What if the link reasserted midair? What if she felt my rage bleeding through, a phantom itch in her stolen skin? Hours blurred into jet lag haze. The in-flight movie a rom-com irony I skipped for encrypted docs on my tablet. Elena's server dumps. Wire transfers to Cayman shells. Chat logs with the contractor. Subject A. Alex. Expendable. Neural overwrite at 90%. Expendable. The word lodged like shrapnel. I'd borne her crimes. The trading probe that nearly indicted me. The family rift when mom's health tanked, blaming my toxic energy. All while she rose, toasting at galas in my shadow. Power like hers was a drug, mired in Silicon Valley's cutthroat ethos. Disrupt or die. Empathy be damned. But I disrupt her. Wheels kissed tarmac at Honolulu International just as the sun clawed over Diamond Head, painting the runway in blood orange. Palm fronds whipped in the trade winds, mocking the chill in my veins. I deplaned into the crush of floral shirts and ukulele buskers, Elena's Lululemon blending seamlessly. A limo waited curbside, family crest on the door, driver dozing to sports radio. Ms. Blackwood, he murmured, snapping awake. I slid in, the leather sighing like a confession, and punched the estate's coordinates into the NAV. Blackwood's private compound on Oahu's north shore, a fortress of glass and lava rock, where deals were sealed over poke bowls and power yoga. The drive wound through cane fields and surf shacks, the radio droning about a tech scandal back home. Some AI firm imploding on ethics violations. Fitting soundtrack. My phone, Elena's, lit with voicemails. Dad's bluster, Lila's plea, and Elena's hiss. What the fuck are you doing? Get back here. The link hummed faintly, a migraine prelude, but I popped a blocker from her purse, chasing it with coconut water. Arrival at the gates. Armed security waved me through, none the wiser. The compound sprawled like a tech utopia gone dystopian. Solar arrays glinting. Infinity pool merging with the ocean, helipad for VIP drops. Family was poolside, mimosas fizzing, oblivious to the wolf in their fold. I stepped out, heels sinking into plumeria mulch, and Elena, in my body, froze mid-laugh, my tattooed arm draped over her fiancé's shoulder. Alex, she choked, the name a curse. Our parents turned, confusion creasing Dad's Botox-smooth forehead. Elena, honey, you're early. Everything okay? I smiled Elena's smile, all teeth and Teflon. Better than okay. We need to talk. About everything. The confrontation ignited like a brush fire in dry koa. We retreated to the great room, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the turquoise expanse, but the view felt like a cage. Elena paced in my scuffed Converse, fists clenched, while I perched on the edge of a Rot 10 sectional, legs crossed like a queen. You're insane, she spat, voice cracking on the edges of my old drawl. This swap was an accident. You think I planned it? I pulled up the server logs on the smart TV, projections flickering like ghosts, vials ordered in bulk, timestamps matching her calendar. Accident. Like Mom's meds? Like the trades you pinned on me. Dad's face drained of color, sputtering about misunderstandings. But Mom, sharp as ever, even post-remission, leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Elena, what have you done? Lila hovered in the doorway, phone in hand, torn between loyalty and the unraveling truth. Elena lunged for the remote, but I sidestepped, the neural link flaring, a jolt of her panic syncing with my pulse. Feel that? I whispered, close enough to smell my own stale coffee breath on her. That's me, clawing back. What followed was a symphony of accusations, the kind that shatters crystal empires. Elena confessed in fragments, the trading to fund her escape, the swap as a test run for immortality tech, Mom's treatment a calculated risk to consolidate power. You were always the weak link, Alex, she snarled, tears streaking my freckles. I fixed us. Fixed? I'd lost friends who thought I'd ghosted them, lovers who pitted the burnout, a career in graphic design DOA because Alexandra Blackwood was now a cautionary tale in Seattle art circles. The betrayal cut deepest in its banality. Family dinners where she'd mimic my quirks to perfection, holidays where she'd forgive me publicly while plotting in DMs. But revenge demands decisions that haunt. I could have called the cops right there, let the FBI dismantle Blackwood tech on Elena's watch. Controversial choice one. Instead, I dosed her, subtly, via the mimosa pitcher, with the stabilizer, trapping her in my body mid-confession. She slumped, eyes wide in frozen horror, as the link severed with a snap like breaking bone. Sleep it off, sis, I murmured, dialing her contractor on speaker. Initiate overwrite. Target, Elena Blackwood. The line crackled, reversing neural lock. Confirm subject? I glanced at her Slack form. Confirmed. Hours later, as sirens wailed from the mainland, SEC tip-off leaking like venom, the family fractured. Dad disowned her on the spot. Mom wept silent rivers. Lila bolted for the beach, screaming about monsters and mirrors. I, back in my skin by dawn's neural purge, felt the weight lift like fog burning off. But the twist? As Elena stirred, groggy in her reclaimed shell, she whispered the reversal. It wasn't just me, Alex. Dad greenlit the swap. Your mistakes were his orders, grooming me for CEO. The old man, cornered by the pool, crumbled. For the company. For legacy. I'd borne not just her sins, but his empire's rot. Karma's a bitch in paradise. I boarded the next flight home alone, the family jet grounded by warrants, Elena facing trials that'd make Theranos blush. Happy ending? Debatable. I reclaim my name, but the mirror shows scars no nanite erases. Tragic? Maybe, if you pity the puppet who cut her strings. Either way, as Honolulu shrank below, I toasted with airline bourbon, to ruins, and the flights that rebuild them. The mainland welcomed me back with Seattle's relentless drizzle, a baptism for the reborn. I texted Lila from the air, tell them I'm done. No visits, no calls. Burn the bridge. And she replied with a single emoji, a broken heart, fitting for the sister who'd chosen silence over solidarity. Blackwood tech stock plummeted 40% by touchdown, headlines screaming heiress hoax, body swap scandal rocks AI giant. Pundits on CNN dissected it like a frog in bio class. Ethics of neural tech, family dynasties crumbling under their own code. I watched from a dive bar in Pioneer Square, nursing a Rainier under neon buzz, My reflection finally mine. Tattoos faded, eyes shadowed, but authentic. Reentry was a minefield. Friends who'd mourned my disappearance bombarded me with DMs. WTF, Alex? Cult? Breakdown. I ghosted most, met a few over pho in the U District. Old studio mates who'd pivoted to NFTs while I rotted in Elena's cage. You look haunted, one said, sketching my profile on a napkin. Haunted? Try hollowed out, rebuilt with Spite's mortar. The neural residue lingered. Phantom itches where Elena's manicures had been, echoes of boardroom adrenaline spiking during quiet sketches. Therapy? I tried to shrink in Capitol Hill, all Zoom beards and mindfulness apps, but processing betrayal felt like polishing shrapnel. Elena's trial dominated the news cycle, a circus of depositions and deepfakes. She lawyered up with the best, Daddy's old firm, despite the disownment, pleading diminished capacity from the swap's psychological toll. Bullshit. In closed sessions, leaked by whistleblowers I'd anonymously tipped, she detailed the overwrite, how the nanites rewired empathy circuits, turning rivals into afterthoughts. I did it for innovation, she testified, voice steady in her own throat now. The contractor flipped, spilling on Dad's involvement. Richard Blackwood, architect of the legacy protocol, who'd greenlit faulty batches to toughen his daughters. Toughen. He'd molded Elena into a shark, me into chum, all to secure Blackwood's IPO windfall. Controversial decision, too, I testified. Not for justice. That ship sailed with NDAs and settlements, but to twist the knife public. Dressed in thrift store chic, no makeup to hide the ravages, I took the stand in federal court downtown, the gallery packed with tech bros in Patagonia vests, reporters live tweeting every flinch. She stole my body, I said flatly, staring Elena down across the Walnut Divide. But worse, she stole our family's soul. Gasps rippled, the judge banged for order. Elena's eyes, cold aquamarine, so like Mom's, flickered with something new. Fear? Regret? The link was dead, but I swear I felt a ghost of it, her pulse quickening like a cornered app glitching. The cross-exam was brutal, her attorney painting me as the unstable twin. Ms. Blackwood, isn't it true you harbored resentment toward your sister's success? That you initiated the vile exchange? Lies, laced with cherry-picked therapy notes Elena had hacked post-swap. I leaned into the mic, voice steady as Rainier's silt. Resentment? Try survival. Your client dosed me to climb a ladder built on my bones. The jury, a mix of Boeing engineers and baristas, shifted uncomfortably. One juror, a mom with tired eyes, nodded almost imperceptibly. Outside, protesters clashed, transhumanists chanting progress over privacy versus ethicists with signs reading bodies aren't beta tests. Dad's testimony was the gut punch. Called as a hostile witness, he shuffled in like a deflated tycoon, Armani rumpled, eyes darting to Elena like she was still his golden ticket. It was a controlled experiment, he admitted under oath, voice cracking on legalese. To prepare them for leadership stresses. Prepare? He'd scripted my failures. The college expulsion, a planted scandal. The Portland bender fueled by spiked drinks from his fixer. All to make Elena shine brighter by comparison, securing her the throne while I played fool. Mom, absent from court, sent a note via Lila. Forgive if you can, Alexandra. We're all monsters in this machine. Forgive? The word tasted like battery acid. Post-trial buzz hit like a viral meme. Elena copped a plea. 10 years federal, plus restitution. Her empire reduced to a prison tablet. Dad stepped down as CEO, the board installing a reform interim, but the damage stuck. Blackwood Tech rebranded to Echo Neural, ads touting ethical empathy, with my face blurred in stock footage. I cashed a modest settlement, enough for a Belltown loft and supplies, and dove back into art, channeling the darkness into murals of fractured selves, exhibited in Fremont galleries where hipsters debated appropriation over IPAs. But tension simmered, dark undercurrents pulling like riptides. Lila reached out one fog-shrouded evening, showing up at my door with takeout from Ivers and eyes red from crying. She's asking for you, she said, passing the salmon. Elena, from her cell in SeaTac's low-security wing, pinning letters smuggled via guards. Not for forgiveness, for understanding. I burned the first batch in my sink, the smoke curling like neural ghosts, but curiosity gnawed. Controversial Decision 3. I visited. Neutral ground. A stark visiting room smelling of bleach and regret. Elena in orange jumpsuit that clashed with her complexion, hair chopped to a practical bob. You won, she said without preamble, hands cuffed to the table. No sorry, no grovel, just fact. I sat, arms crossed, the room's hum mirroring old Link static. One? I lost a year, Elena. You lost everything. She laughed, bitter as black coffee. Everything? Dad's cut me off. Mom's in denial, Lila's ghosting. But you're free, painting your truths while I rot. The reversal twisted deeper. She envied my ruin, the authenticity she'd coded out of herself. The swap showed me. She confessed, voice dropping. Power's empty without the mess. I was building an escape, but you built a reckoning. We talked for hours, first barbs, then confessions. She detailed Dad's grooming, weekend simulations, where he'd pit us against each other, rewards for the winner's lies. I'd borne the brunt, my mistakes, his scripts to forge Elena's ruthlessness. The secret? Mom knew. Her cancer a self-inflicted ploy to rally the board around Elena's stability. Family wasn't blood, it was a startup, pivots and layoffs included. As guards called time, Elena gripped the table. Fix it, Alex. Don't let them win. Fix. The word hung, a glitch in my resolve. Leaving, the drizzle turned to downpour, blurring taillights on Aurora Avenue. I drove to the estate, uninvited, unannounced, storming the gates with a forged keycard. Dad answered the door himself, scotch in hand, looking every year of his 68. Alexandra, he breathed, surprise masking calculation. Come to gloat. The great room echoed empty now, Elena's awards boxed in the attic. I faced him by the hearth, flames dancing like faulty nanites. No, to end it. I laid out the full ledger, Mom's complicity, his directives, the offshore slush fund he'd hidden even from her. Legacy? It's a lie, and I'm cashing out. His collapse was unglamorous, tears, not theatrics. Admitting the empire's rot started with Grandpa's moonshine runs, laundered into tech. I thought control equaled love, he sobbed. Controversial? I could have comforted, rebuilt. Instead, I walked, leaving him to his ghosts, the door clicking like a final overwrite. Months blurred into a tentative normalcy. My art show in Soto sold out, critics calling it visceral voyeurism of the self. Ironic, given the voyeurism I'd endured. Lila and I mended over hikes in the Olympics, her apologies tasting of salt air. Mom, distant calls, laced with healing retreats in Sedona. Elena wrote monthly, her letters evolving from pleas to philosophies on identity, smuggled sketches of swapped souls I'd frame anonymously. Yet the lingered, a shadow in the code. One night, neural phantom flared. A dream link? Elena's voice, faint. They're coming for you now. Wakeful, I checked alerts. Blackwood remnants, rogue coders loyal to Dad, probing my net for loose ends. The climax brewed, not in courtrooms, but code wars. I fortified, allying with a hacker collective from my Portland days, ethical pirates who'd lost gigs to Blackwood's IP sweeps. The attack hit on a stormy solstice, firewalls crumbling under DDoS barges masked as spam. I countered from my loft, fingers flying over keys, the rain lashing windows like accusations. They wanted the server dumps, the proof I'd held back. But I had a twist. Elena's final letter, coordinates to a hidden drive in the estate's panic room. I drove through the gale, breaching the gates with bolt cutters, Dad's security offline from the blitz. Inside, the room yielded a laptop humming with terabytes. Not just crimes, but cures, the stable swap formula, Elena's redemption project from lockup. The reversal? It wasn't betrayal alone, it was opportunity. She'd embedded a virus in the family AI, set to activate on my command, redistributing assets to whistleblowers, exposing the board's complicity. Your vengeance, my absolution, her note read. I hit enter as thunder cracked, the network imploding in digital fire. Assets flowed. Millions to cancer research in Mom's name, scholarships for troubled artists like young me, a chunk to Elena's commissary. Dad's empire? Atomized, shares tanking to pennies, the Blackwood name a punchline on Reddit. Dawn broke clear, the storm spent. I boarded a flight, not secret, but solo, to Hawaii, no family jet, just economy to the North Shore. There, On the beach where it had unraveled, I scattered Elena's sketches into the surf, watching waves claim them. Happy. In fragments, freedom's a mosaic of scars. Tragic? If legacy's the metric, sure. But debatable, always. Was revenge rebirth, or just another swap? The Hawaii return wasn't pilgrimage. It was punctuation, a full stop to the chaos I'd scripted. I rented a Jeep in Waikiki, top down despite the humidity, wind whipping my hair, finally mine, choppy and unstyled, as I cruised the H3 toward the North Shore. Billboards hawked surf lessons and poke trucks, a far cry from the compound's sterile opulence. The estate loomed on the bluff, gates ajar like an afterthought, for sale sign slapping in the breeze. I parked, sand gritting underfoot, and wandered the grounds. Pool drained to a green murk. Infinity edge cracked like a broken promise. Inside, echoes amplified, my footsteps on marble, ghosts of mimosas and malice. No one home, but traces lingered. Dad's Scotch decanter dusty on the bar, Mom's yoga mat rolled in the corner, Lila's forgotten shell necklace on the sill. I claimed the great room, laptop open to news feeds. Blackwood's dissolution splashed across Bloomberg, AI dynasties fall, from innovation to incarceration. Elena's face pixelated in mugshots, Dad's and paparazzi shots fleeing board meetings. The hacker collective I looped and celebrated via encrypted chat. You just open-sourced the future, Alex. No more corpo overlords. Open-sourced, ironic, given the closed circuits that caged me. But the high faded fast, replaced by a gnawing void. Revenge sated the fury, but what of the hollow? Nights in my loft back home devolved into staring contests with the ceiling, neural echoes mimicking heartbeats. Hers? Mine? I sketched compulsively. Diptychs of faces layered translucent, bodies mid-morph, exhibited in a pop-up in Georgetown titled Stolen Selves. Opening night drew the curious, tech refugees, art school dropouts, even a reporter from Wired sniffing for the real story. Was it catharsis or cruelty? She probed over cheap wine. I shrugged, the American non-answer. Both. Pick your poison. Lila visited more, our bond a tentative bridge over the chasm. We drive to Alki Beach, splitting Dippin' Dots while she unpacked her guilt. I saw the signs, Alex. Elena's late nights, the whispers. I just wanted the family fantasy. Fantasy, the Blackwood myth, sold to investors over clambakes and TED Talks. She'd been the buffer, smoothing edges, but complicit in the silence. You're the strong one now, she said, tossing a pebble into the sound. Strong? Try surviving, one reluctant breath at a time. Controversial decision 4. I bailed on the settlement strings, no non-disparagement, no forced family therapy. Instead, I funneled my cut into a foundation. Echoes Anonymous, support for swap victims. Rare, but rising with black market neural hacks in the valley. First event in a Vashon community center, survivors sharing war stories. A coder trapped in his boss's shell, a spouse overwritten by a jealous lover. Elena sent a video message, smuggled via Lila. Jumpsuit swapped for a crisp blouse. Hair growing out. Reading from notes. I built the cage, you broke it. Use my blueprints for good. The group murmured, forgiveness? Fuel? I let them vote. Play it looped, a digital confessional. Dad's outreach came circuitous, through lawyers couriering a letter to my P.O. box. I've stepped away, he wrote, script shaky. Tahoe cabin, indefinite. If you ever. No apology, just coordinates, a door cracked for the prodigal. I burned it too, but kept the map, folding it into my sketchbook like a talisman. Mom. She surfaced in Sedona Vortex selfies on Insta, captions hashtagged healing journey, but a late-night call cracked the facade. Your father. He's fading, Alex. The company's poison was in his veins. Fading, code for the cancer she'd faked. Now real, irony's cruel algorithm. Come see him, she pleaded. I hung up, the line dead as the link. The tension peaked in autumn, leaves turning like faulty code in Golden Gardens Park. A tail, subtle, a black SUV mirroring my runs to the co-op, signaled unfinished business. Blackwood holdouts, Dad's old guard, sniffing for leverage in the Foundation's files. I looped the hackers, setting honeypots, dummy drives baited with fabricated scandals. They bit. Hard, launching a midnight breach that lit my alerts like Christmas. Counterstrike. I doxed the ringleader, a VP I'd met at Napa Galas, his offshore nest eggs frozen by dawn. The feds swooped, tying it to Elena's plea remnants. Conspiracy charges stacking like Jenga. Climax redux, not fireworks, but a quiet detonation. I confronted the last loose and solo. A meet at Gasworks Park, the old gasification tower silhouetted against a bruised sunset. He waited on the hill, mid-40s, ex-security chief, paunch straining his polo. Miss Blackwood, he drawled, Virginia transplant gone native. Your old man's regrets run deep. Regrets? Or recruitment? He slid a thumb drive across the grass. Insurance. Drop the foundation, or it drops. Proof you dosed your sister. The stabilizer footage, grainy from the compound cams. Me pouring the mimosa like Lady Macbeth. Heart hammered, but I laughed. Raw, on Elena. Insurance? Try indictment. I crushed the drive under heel, shards glinting like broken vials. You think I fear the dark? I lived it. He lunged, clumsy with desperation, but I sidestepped. Years of yoga in Elena's body honing reflexes. A knee to the gut, a shove. He tumbled, rolling to the path below, sirens wailing from distant I-5. Controversial? Self-defense or escalation? Cops ruled the former, but whispers lingered. Vigilante justice in the PNW's gray moral fog. Winter brought uneasy peace, snow dusting the Olympics like neural static. My loft filled with canvases, vibrant now, less fractured, sold to collectors who saw resilience in the strokes. Lila announced grad school in Boston, hugs at the airport tasting of finality. Right if you swap cities, she joked. I serious. Mom's updates sporadic. Dad stabilized, chemo cocktails, the cabin a hermitage. Elena's letters evolved to blueprints, stable swaps for therapy, consensual neural bridges. Twist the tech, not the truth, she penned. The true reversal hit in spring, a manila envelope postmarked Tahoe. Dad's will, notarized, leaving me the cabin keys and a confession vid on USB. Grainy footage, him gaunt by a pine fire. I built walls, Alexandra. You tore them down. Forgive? No. But live, unscripted. The twist? Not Betrayal's architect, but its victim, Grandpa's shadow. The moonshine legacy a cycle he couldn't break. I drove up on Memorial Day, the Sierra Nevadas unfolding like a deleted scene, cabin nestled in aspen groves, smelling of pine and possibility. Inside, photos lined the mantel. Us kids at Tahoe summers, Elena mid-laugh, me mid-splinter from a dock dive. No AI gloss, just faded Polaroids. I stayed a week, sketching the lake at dawn, the water still as overwritten code. No family reunion, just me, reclaiming quiet. Back in Seattle, I listed the compound proceeds for auction, proceeds to echoes, the gavel fall a mic drop. Ending? Debatable as ever. I boarded flights now for exhibits. NYC lofts, LA beachfronts, not secrets, but solos, shocking no one but myself with the freedom. Happy, if happiness is the space between scars. By Kitsch, if you mourn the machine we dismantled. Either way, the hook's released. Family said I ruined the vacation. Turns out, I remade the world. Summer sweltered in the city, a rare Seattle heat dome turning asphalt to tar and tempers to tinder. My loft's AC wheezed like an old modem, but I thrived in the sweat. Canvases sprawling across the floor, a riot of oils depicting neural webs cracking like fault lines. The Wired piece dropped mid-July, the swap survivor, Alexandra Blackwood's war on wired selves, framing me as anti-hero, part whistleblower, part avenger. Comments sections erupted, body swap ethics trending, with edgelords decrying woke witch hunts and therapists nodding trauma's triumph. I scrolled from a Capitol Hill patio, IPA sweating in hand, the irony fizzy. Elena's empire birthed my voice. Foundation work ramped up, echoes anonymous ballooning to chapters in Portland and SF. Virtual meets via secure Zoom, survivors unmasking. A barista in her ex's form, plotting escape. A vet overwritten in a VA trial gone rogue. Elena contributed remotely, her prison gig as consultant, yielding white papers on consent protocols. Redesigned the cage into a key. Her latest read, diagrams sketched on legal pad. I forwarded them to the collective, who open-sourced variants, free neural firewalls for the dark web's lost souls. Power shifted, not seized, from boardrooms to basements. The UM democratized. Lila's departure left a quiet ache. her texts from Beantown brimming with poli-sci rants. Capitalism's the real swap, trading souls for stock. We'd video over bad dorm Wi-Fi, her face fuller, mine leaner from runs along the Burke-Gilman Trail. Visit, she urged. Boston's got that gritty American soul you dig. I booked a red-eye for Labor Day, the flight of meditation on altitudes. How high can you climb before the drop? Logan Airport's chaos greeted me. Cabbies hawking fares, tourists in Red Sox caps, a East Coast antidote to P&W Reserve. Her campus tour was a whirlwind, ivy-clad halls echoing with debate club fervor, food trucks slinging lobster rolls that tasted like privilege. Over cannoli at the North End, she confessed, I'm writing my thesis on you. Family dynasties as neural nets, predictable failures. Predictable? The Blackwoods defied algorithms, our saga a glitch in the matrix. We laughed, but tension threaded. A call from Mom mid-bite, voice thin. Your father's asking for Alexandra, not Elena. The cabin, then, is summons, unspoken. I extended the trip, Amtrak NG west to Tahoe, the rails clicking like code compiling. The Sierras rose majestic, pines whispering secrets, but my gut nodded with old links. Dad waited on the porch, thinner, cheeks hollowed by treatments, but eyes sharp, the tycoon's glint undimmed. You came, he said, no hug, just a nod toward the rocker. We sat into dusk, scotch for him, seltzer for me, the lake a mirror below. The will was cowardice, he started, glass clinking. Meant to lure, not atone. What spilled was excavation. Grandpa's bootlegging not just prohibition hustle, but a web of bribes that snared Richard Young, falsified reports, rivals swapped via frame-ups. I thought tech would cleanse it, he admitted, voice gravel. Elena inherited the ruthlessness. You, the conscience. The swap? My final script, to force her hand. Force? I'd been the prop, dosed to mirror her ascent. My fall, the plot twist to propel her. Mom's cancer ploy? His idea, a sympathy play for investors. The betrayal layered like sedimentary rock, each stratum heavier. Controversial decision 5, I stayed. Not forgiveness. A week's vigil, cooking elk stews from his recipes, debating antitrust over chess by the fire. He taught me the cabin's wiring, hidden panels stocked with ledgers, Blackwood's original sins, digitized for the foundation. Burn or build? He rasped one dawn, handing the keys. Build, I digitized, anonymized, feeding it to the collective for a blockchain archive, legacy ledger, immutable truth for future whistleblowers. He passed mid-September, quiet as a reboot, Mom arriving too late, her vortex vibes crumbling into widow's weeds. Funeral was small, cabin side, ashes scattered on the lake, Lila flying in with a eulogy that skewered gently. He built worlds, but forgot the humans in them. Media sniffed, but NDAs held, my doing, a final gatekeep. Back in Seattle, the heat broke, autumn rains washing the city clean. Echoes thrived. Elena paroled early for cooperation. Her release, a media storm. Heiress haunts, redemption or reckoning? She surfaced in Vancouver, low-profile consultancy. Our first meet a neutral cafe in Gastown. Rain pattering on awnings, her face lined but lighter. You look, you, she said, stirring chai. No venom, just fact. We talked circuits, her blueprints refining my firewalls, my art inspiring her ethics seminars. The link? A scar, tingling in storms, but severed. Twist me back, she joked, but I serious. Reversal's echo. She wasn't villain soul. We were co-coded, products of the same flawed OS. Family ruined the vacation. I countered. We remade the flight. Darkness lingered in margins, nightmares of mid-swap voids, alerts from holdout hackers probing the ledger. Tension as constant as coffee runs, but I armored with routine. Dawn sketches, foundation board calls, runs where the trail's rhythm drowned echoes. Lila's thesis defended with honors, dedicating it to Alex, the unswappable. Climax's afterglow faded to plateau, the story's arc bending toward uneasy equilibrium. I boarded a flight to Honolulu, not secret, but symposium-bound, keynoting on identity in the interface to a room of ethicists and engineers. North Shore compound, demolished for eco-condos, the Bluff now public park, Plumeria trails where families picnicked, oblivious to buried bites. Ending debatable, happy in the rebuilt, Foundation funded. Art alive. Sisters synced sans nanites. By kitsch if you tally the toll. Lives swapped. Legacies lost. A family fractured beyond firewall. But American as apple pie burned. Messy. Resilient. Arguing its own myth. They said I ruined the vacation. Truth? I hijacked the narrative, and the skies cleared for takeoff. Winter's grip loosened slow that year. Seattle's grays yielding to tentative greens, the kind that sprout defiant from sidewalk cracks. My loft evolved into studio proper, walls papered in sketches, a corner desk humming with foundation dashboards. Echo's anonymous hit 5 figures in outreach, partnerships with ACLU Tech Arms, Elena's Vancouver firm prototyping consent chips for neural optants. We'd email threads now, co-authoring op-eds for The Atlantic, from swap to solidarity, reclaiming the self in Silicon Age. Her byline drew fire, trolls dubbing her jailbird Jedi, but responses poured, tips from insiders, pleas from the overwritten. Lila's Boston orbit pulled her deeper into activism, protests against big tech's mind monopolies, her vlogs going viral with quips like swap your data, swap your soul. We'd converge for holidays at the cabin, neutral turf, no Blackwood ghosts, turkey thawing over Scrabble marathons, Mom joining tentative, her Sedona tan fading to pallor. Healing's nonlinear, she'd say, passing the pie, eyes skirting Dad's empty rocker. Forgiveness? A process, pixelated. Group hikes where we'd vent, bonfires roasting old photos, ashes joining his on the lake. Art sustained. A solo show at Sam Annex selling to a Guggenheim scout, neural nomads. Installations of mirrored shards reflecting viewers' distortions. Opening night, champagne flutes clinking amid whispers. Is that the swap sister? I navigated with Elena's old poise, now mine. A collector cornered me, silver-haired venture type, inspiring. Ever think of monetizing the tech? I smiled sharp, already did. Call it revenge royalties. Tension's embers flared sporadic. A ledger breach attempt, quashed by collective countermeasures. Elena's parole hearing drama. A rival firm smearing her for leverage. We debrief over Zoom. Her Vancouver skyline framing a face softened by time, mine backdropped by Rainier. They're scared, she'd say. We disrupted the disruptors. Scared? Or scheming? The Valley's eternal game, where loss is just a pivot. Controversial coda, I dated. Not the rom-com sweep, but tentative, a barista from my co-op run, tattoos mirroring mine, conversations over vinyl spins and dive bars. Your story's wild, he'd say, tracing a scar on my wrist from the swap's IVs. Wild. Try Wired, every touch a test for phantoms. We hiked Discovery Park, waves crashing below, and I confessed the dosings, the overwrites. He listened, no judgment, just sounds like you won the war. Won? Debatable, but his hand in mine felt unscripted. Spring bloomed vengeful, a class action suit against Blackwood remnants naming me lead plaintiff, survivors from early trials, neural scars manifesting as migraines, lost jobs. I testified again, this time in a packed Oakland courthouse, the gallery a mosaic of faces, vets, coders, one teen hacker who'd self-swapped for kicks. It starts with vials, I said, voice steady. Ends with empires. Elena co-counseled remotely, her deposition a bombshell. Insider docs on Dad's protocols. The settlement? Billions rerouted to reparations, echoes swelling to national org. Climax's final echo, a family summit, unbidden. Mom called from the cabin. All of us, Alex. No more flights fleeing. Lila flew in, Elena drove south, me Amtrak and G with canvases for the walls. We gathered porch side, dusk gilding the lake, tensions taut as guy wires. Elena first, voice low. I stole your body. You stole my illusions. Lila next. I buffered the blows, should have swung back. Mom last. Our secrets were chains. Break them. Me? I passed the scotch, Dad's ritual, and spoke the reversal. We all swapped sins. Question is, who claims the skin now? Talk stretched to stars, confessions cascading. Mom's complicity born of fear, Elena's ambition a mask for abandonment wounds from Dad's absences. No absolution, just accounting, a ledger balanced in words. Dawn found us asleep in rockers, the air crisp with pine promise. Life plateaued, then crested. I expanded echoes to policy lobbies, testifying in DC corridors where suits eyed me like a glitch. Lila's book deal on dynastic dysfunctions hit bestsellers. Ghostwritten nods to our saga. Elena's firm boomed ethical AI, her TED Talk, swapping shadows. Lessons from the dark side, going mega. Mom remodeled the cabin into a retreat for survivors, her hands in soil healing deeper than Sedona stones. I boarded flights frequent now, symposia in Berlin, exhibits in Tokyo, not shocking kin, but charting courses. One red-eye to Honolulu, symposium encore. I lingered post-talk, North Shore sands underfoot, the old Bluff Park alive with cakey laughter. A family nearby picnicked, oblivious, their joy a rebuke to our ruins. Hooks close. They said I ruined the vacation, secretly boarded to shock. Truth reversed. We all boarded fools' flights, landed in reckonings. Happy. In the collective we, scars shared. By kitsch. In the solos we mourn. Debatable, deliciously American. Argue it over brews, and the story lives.